but I'm going to explain to you exactly what is. So, as you're jumping on, hello, good morning, happy Wednesday, happy hump day, happy magical manifestation Wednesday. So, before we dive in, I got to tell you guys my night. Oh my God. So, yesterday, well, I'll tell you about my life first. Yesterday, the girls had a chorus concert. So those of you guys that don't know, I have two stepdaughters. One is 10, one's about to turn 12, one's going into middle school. They had a chorus concert last night, cute as can be. And my youngest, Violet, had a speaking part. And she was so nervous. But this girl, like, she is meant to be on stage. Do you know what I mean? She's got the gift. She can speak clearly. She's very articulate. She's very self aware. So she did a great job. I mean, she was nervous as hell, like it's your first time ever. Like, do you guys remember the first time you ever spoke on stage or like in front of people? You know what? This is a great story. The first time I ever spoke in front of people was in public speaking class in high school. Makes sense, right? But what happened? So I had just started at this new high school. It was my sophomore year, I believe. And it was a brand new high school, which nobody likes. That's not fun at all, right? But I was in front of the class. All the cool kids were watching, and I was so nervous. You guys are going to love this because you see me speak all day long now, no problem, right? Well, here's why. I was so nervous. I was shaking, sweating, stumbling on all of my words, completely botched it, was entirely embarrassed. Obviously, as we know, nobody cares as much as we do about ourselves. You know what I mean? Nobody else probably cared. They probably all would have done the exact same thing. But I'll tell you, this is what it did for me. That was the moment that I essentially said, F this. From this point forward, will be phenomenal at speaking. I just made a clear decision. I was like, I'm not going to be afraid of it anymore. I'm just going to be good at it. And I kid you not, from that moment forward, I never had an experience like that again. I just made this full body decision. I was so mad. Those of you who know me, my husband, if he watches this, he's just going to laugh. I do not like for things to beat me. Like, I'm not a big, like, competitive in terms of, like, I don't need to be better than another person, but I don't like things to beat me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like fear to win. That makes me really, really mad. And this was one of those times where fear was so large and so like taking over, it made me irate. It made me so mad to the point where I was like, from this point forward, I will be the best speaker in the world, period. And I did. I mean, I just did it. And I tell you this story because the power of decision in our life is so huge. It is such a powerful energy. Like, once we really full body, everything in us decide something, all the powers that be line up behind us. So in this instance, I decided that. I went on to do public speaking in college, and then I started my business. So I'm on stage every day here, not straight out of college, but you see what I'm saying? Like, these were the times where I was speaking in front of people. And I remember in college, we had to do, so I took I minored in entrepreneurship, which it was a new minor that came to the college, like my second or third year there. And originally I was in logistics, which is laughable knowing myself now. But I switched from logistics to entrepreneurship, and there was this class where we basically learned how to run a business. It was incredible. The guy who taught it was not really a professor. He was a serial entrepreneur. He had all these businesses, and he came and taught us like how to do your P&L sheet, how to write up a business plan, how to pitch to investors, like this whole thing. So we had to practice pitching to investors. Well, me being who I am, I did not prepare at all because college Marli was a lot more fly by the seat of her pants than this version of me is, but I still have it in me. Like, I'll just get up and go. But again, I had made my decision about speaking. I knew I'm good at it, period, done. don't care, right? And so I knew, and this is a key element to speaking. If you know what you're talking about, and I'm not talking about like memorizing, I don't memorize anything. Like at most, I have 3 to 4 bullet points. And it's 3 to 4 bullet points of things that I know in my body. This is why I could talk for days. This is why I can show up every morning live, because what I speak to you guys about is what I know in my being. It's not here, it's, and then I'm very connected as well. So I had my like 3 to 4 speaking points of like how to do this thing. And so I just got up there and wung it. It's like put on the like personality and wung it. And so I talked for just a few minutes. And then he goes, I went to get off of the stage, right? Being in front of the classroom. And he's like, hang on, Marli, stay up there, stay up there. And I was like, oh my God, like, did I mess up? And he was like, how much time did you spend preparing? I didn't lie. I said, I didn't. And he goes, you're kidding. And I was like, no, I didn't prepare at all. He's like, well, that was really good. I was like, well, thank you. So, moral of the story is not to like accolades me on being a good speaker. What I'm telling you is that I made a really massive declaration when I was 15 years old. And we have this power any day of the week. And in fact, of course, this ties in so perfectly with what we're talking about today. When you make a declaration of change, you are supported in that declaration. Okay, I gotta get my hands off the desk. I'm shaking it. You are supported in that declaration by the powers that be, by the universe, God, angels, your divine soul team, whatever it is that you pray to, whatever. You're supported in that declaration. When you make a declaration with all of you, meaning mind, body, soul, not just the mind, and then you're hoping, right? Like all of you, no matter what, everything starts moving mountains for that to be in your favor, for that to work out. Another beautiful story. My OGs know this story, so I'm going to give cliff notes here. Let me get a sip of coffee. When I was in my corporate job, right before I left and went full time into the business that I run now, it was January of 2019. And in January of 2019, I had already booked a trip to go to Thailand in July. So one of my girlfriends lived in Thailand. She was in the Peace Corps. Another one of my girlfriends and I had been telling her we're going to come see her forever. We finally made the decision, booked the plane tickets, I'm going. In January, y'all are going to laugh, but this is how travel is my number one priority. I had already accounted for all of my PTO. Those of you who don't know or not in corporate jobs, paid time off. So you get like 2 weeks vacation, right? So all of my 2 weeks vacation was already allocated before I booked this like 18-day trip to Thailand. And I was like, well, I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see. And then I had a moment. And I said, you know what? I'm going to quit in July. I'm done. I am going to leave this job in July. I had already started my business, my coaching business, for those of you who are wondering. I had already started it in 2018, mid 2018, like March to mid 2018, I had started showing up online, doing stuff just like this, you know, not as organized as this, but like doing stuff like this, teaching online, telling people lessons of the day, just sharing the wisdom that I had accumulated from years of my own personal development, death and rebirths, dark night of the souls, like been through 2 major dark night of the souls myself at that time. Or no, 1 major one at that time. The other one just in the last few years. But I had already started showing up online, but I was not selling anything in 2018, did not have a coaching container until about December. And that was when I first started taking on clients. That was when I started my first new group program. So January 2019, I booked this trip to Thailand. And I was like, well, I'm leaving for almost a month and I have no PTO. So priorities, right? And I'm ranting right now. I mean, not ranting, but all of it is just such gold for you to really, really take in. Make your decisions for your life based on the life you want to have. Do you know what I mean? There was no part of me that was like, be responsible and only use your 2 weeks of PTO. I was like, this is what I want to do, and I'll figure it out. Whatever. So I made this decision, and then I had this click moment where I decided I'm leaving the job in July. No matter what, I'll figure it out. I am leaving the job in July. And there is a difference. Like, there is a hard line difference between I hope I can leave and no, this is what I'm doing. Like, no matter what, didn't know how it was going to work out, didn't have a plan for like a new job. The business at this time was not making enough money for me to leave the job on, but I made that decision. I said in July. And that was like this goal set that I put there, And I'll say this, not even a goal, because a goal is like something you're like, I'm going to work towards that. It was a clear line decision for me. Once I made that decision, within the month, okay, I want everybody to hear this because I didn't do anything different in terms of like going to get a job or trying to figure out the next thing or whatever. Within the month, my company went through a reorg, which for those of you who are not in corporate world, a reorg is basically people are getting fired and moved around. Like, that's basically what it is. Went through a reorg. My business, I received the idea for the Lightworkers Society, which those of you who don't know, the Lightworkers Society was my very first big program that I did, teaching the spirituality and the energetics behind lining up your path of fulfillment, the path you're meant to walk, be that a business that you're starting or a project or lining up with the career that you want or whatever it was. I taught the spirituality and the energetics behind doing that. At the time, it was very focused on starting an online business because that's what I had done. Now it's evolved. I received that idea for that program. And my company, going through the reorg, ended up offering me either a position to stay with the company or I could take voluntary severance. So January, I made the decision, I'm leaving this job by July. In February, I got offered paid severance. They offered me $11,000 to quit. Okay. And I had just received the idea for the big program that I was going to release, and I just knew it would work. By March of 2019, my business had quadrupled. I made something like $30,000 in a month, plus the addition that oh God, I shouldn't have said that, that my corporation paid me to leave. And I left the job. So all of that is to say that when you make a huge declaration, everything aligns with you to move you towards that in a better way than your little brain could ever have imagined. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I was planning on leaving by July, and the universe was like, watch this, and did things in a way that I never could have planned or expected, ever, 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 ever. Okay. Here's where people mess up. And this is where you think the universe is testing you. Okay. When you make a decision about what you want, when you declare, never again, I am done with this, or this is what I'm doing, no matter what, there is an energy of past momentum that has to play out. So instead of thinking about life in terms of life events, I want you to think about life in terms of momentum of energy. When you have had a momentum of energy that you have been like putting energy into whatever your level of life is right now. So say you've been putting energy into a story around, I'm not good enough, there's no way I can do this. I'm not worthy. Like if you've been fueling that story with energy for maybe even decades, it's got momentum. Do you feel me on this? It's got momentum. So it's got a lot of gusto behind it. When you say, I'm not doing that anymore, done, not gonna happen again. Like, and you make one of those really big declarations. Now, what I want to tell you about the declarations is you will feel it. It feels different. It's not a hope energy. It is a done. This is what it is. Cut ties, sever the past. I'm over it. We're doing this now. It's a very distinct energy. But when you make that decision, this old momentum has to play out. So again, instead of thinking about it in terms of life events, think about it like momentum of energy. As long as you fuel something, it's going to continue having momentum, just like in the car, right? Like you put your foot on the gas, you give something energy, it's going to continue to go. But if you take your foot off of the gas, it's going to still go, right? The momentum is still going to play out. So, what happens when we make a huge declaration, and this is where a lot of people mess up and feel like the universe is testing you, is when we make a declaration, the universe says yes, 100% yes. But what happens is that it speeds up that momentum, meaning it like something that would have played out like the car slowing down, really nice and easy. It like speeds it up because it's the universe. It do whatever it wants. It speeds it up. So all that momentum plays out at once. And it feels like chaos. It feels like everything's going wrong. It feels like, oh my God, what just happened? So an example, oh my gosh, should I tell this story? Maybe I should. Okay. When I met Robert, right before I met him, I had done a lot of work around my feminine energy, around feeling safe with the masculine, around clearing out all of those past relationship distortions. Like I had done a lot of energy around myself and being able to relax with a male, relax into the masculine. Okay. So when I met Robert, we scheduled our date for a Monday. I also had a date for Saturday, just a couple of days before. Now, as you can imagine, I was much more looking forward to Robert because when you know, your body knows, right? But I had this date and I was like, it's so funny. I'm having so many memories now because I remember teaching live and sharing with my people like, oh my God, I'm going on this date. So I had this date on Saturday and had been so enraptured with Robert, wasn't even sure who the date was with on Saturday. I was like, oh my God, let me go like check his profile out again so I at least know something about him, right? So I go and I check out his profile. And he's a good looking guy, he's got a nice smile. And on his profile, it says he's polyamorous, which for those of you who don't know, means that they have multiple sexual partners. And I was like, I don't really know what I was thinking with that one, but this will be interesting. And honestly, I was just really excited to ask him like all these questions, like, how do you do that? Don't you worry about STDs? Like, what are you doing? Anyway, long story short, I go on a date with this guy and he is like, I mean, I'm sure he's perfect for whoever is good with that lifestyle. But for me, he was literally the opposite of everything that I would want in a partner. And I'm not trying to shame on him or anything like that. It's not my vibe. It was like all of these things that he was saying and doing and kind of the way that he acted. I remember sitting there going, how did this happen? Like how did I arrive to sitting across the table from someone who never in a million years would I initiate a relationship with? And because I teach this and I understand how this stuff works, all of it made sense all in this one moment. By the way, I was home by 7:30. I was like, nice to meet you. Bye-bye. I had been doing all of this work around my worthiness inside as a female, feeling safe in my feminine, being able to attract a person that is in his divine masculine that I can relax into. Like, I had done all of this work. I was supported by the universe in all of these things that I was doing. But there was an old story of attracting a type of guy who was not up to that standard. There was momentum. So when I made that shift and I started doing that work on myself, the universe said, yes, absolutely, you are supported in this. But that old story about who it was that I dated and the standards and all of that had momentum. So here it played out in the epitome of everything that I would not choose sitting right in front of me. Here's where people mess up. They think I've got to fix this. You don't need to fix it. If you've made a declaration and you've done the work on yourself and you see something play out in your reality that doesn't make sense, trust and know it is just old momentum playing out. Don't touch it. Don't fix it. Don't go home and be like, what's wrong with me? Don't do anything with it. Witness it and hands off. Let that baby play on out because that's in support of you. You're not being tested. I very well could have had a story. Oh, the universe is testing me with this male figure that is not anything that I want to date. Like I could have had that story, but I knew better because of the universal knowledge that I understand. So that had to play out. 2 days later, on a date with Robert, everything I could ask for and more made my whole soul just take a deep breath. So you're always working towards what you want. And along the way, that old momentum that you don't want to play with anymore is going to play out. And sometimes it's going to play out erratically. Sometimes it's going to have something like hugely chaotic happen. Witness it. Just old momentum playing out. It's just old momentum playing out. And you stay focused on your eye on the prize, where it is that you've decided you're going. Do you see what I'm saying? You've got to continue to keep your energy towards the declaration that you made. Now, when you make a full body declaration, this is easier than the I hope energy. I hope energy is like, you don't really believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope this works out is not you really believing that it's going to work out, right? That it's like, no, this is happening no matter what. But this is the place that we want to get to, especially when it comes to our endeavors, to our goals, to who we're deciding that we're going to be. You want this full body, I know, decision-making energy behind you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're the one who's deciding. No one else can decide it for you. No one else could decide for me the type of guy I was going to be with. Well, who's deciding that for me? No one else can decide for you the type of human you're going to be. No one else can decide for you the type of money you're going to make. But so long as you're throwing that power outside of you, you are the one who's keeping yourself stuck where you are. Do you feel me on that? So you have to make full body declaration, take 100% ownership for what's happening. And when old momentum plays out, I ain't touching it. I ain't touching it. Like, see you, love you, bye. Jesse said, did you declare that you were going to find someone like Robert? I might have missed that part. I did not. So with Robert, it's a really beautiful story. What happened in meeting Robert was a very I had declared before that I was done dating the below standard guy. I was like, I'll be single the rest of my life. I don't care. I'm not doing it anymore. So it wasn't so much that I declared I'm going to find somebody who, it was like I declared what I was done with. Like, I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Sacrifice? That's not the right word. I guess settle's the word. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle for something less and just compromise and be like, well, it's okay that, they're not this. I was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done. And I had no problem being single. Being single was not a wound for me. I know for a lot of people, that's the theme of the healing in this lifetime for you. Being single was not an issue for me. I was good with it. And that was, a big part of it too. But when I started doing the work around feminine energy and really getting curious as to why had I sacrificed for so long? Why was I willing to settle? That brought up a lot of interesting work, like internal interesting work. As you guys know, I'm entirely obsessed with personal development and seeking out what is inside of me that needs to be acknowledged, transmuted, healed, released, put into a new energy, all for the outcome of I want to be my best and highest potential, period. And so if I have a place in my life that is distorted, that's not really working out really well, I'll go all the way in on it just to discover it. Why is it like this? Why is it not working out in a better way? Why am I settling for this? I will go all the way in on it because if I'm settling in one area of life, that's going to affect all areas of my life. You know what I mean? So I went all in on it and ended up getting a husband. And an amazing, like not just a husband, like, most wonderful human in the world. Okay, so we got it. We have the moral of the story. The universe is not testing you. It supports you. Like again, the universe always says yes. So it also says yes when you're like, I am going to continue doing the same awful thing. It's like, okay, well, we're going to keep doling out the same awful result from the thing you keep doing. You know what I mean? Universe always says yes. So when you say, declare full body, done with this, and I am going here and I'm doing this, do not be surprised if some chaos happens. If some like chaotic momentum plays out really quickly, some stuff that doesn't make sense happens. I've seen this a bajillion times with my clients who are working on their money mindset. They like made a declaration, like, no more. I will not be worrying about money anymore. I am fully up leveling my bank account. And then the next day they'll have this random bill out of nowhere come out of their bank account. And they're like, what the hell? I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Let it play out. You stay focused on where you're going and what you're doing. And that's how we start to build that new level. Because think about it in terms, again, of energy and momentum. If that momentum starts playing out really quickly, and instead of hands off, like get your foot off the gas, don't touch it, it will play out if you don't touch it. But if you touch it and you essentially, when I say touch it, put your focus on it, put your energy into it, try to fix it, you're amplifying it, you're revving up the momentum again. And that's how we end up creating these looping situations that we don't really like to be in. You know what I mean? All right, my loves, I love you so much. Starting next week, we will be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we are going to a slimmer schedule next week, starting next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we have we have some workshops coming up. I am going to do some workshops for you guys on different areas of life. So you can check out all of that information in my bio on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube, you can check out the link that will be below in the show notes. It's called the Frequency of You workshops. So these are workshops where we're going to be looking at your past story around a certain area of life. So we have one that's around your money identity. We have one that's around your relationship story. We have one that's around your health and body. We have one that's around your career and success story. So what we're going to be looking at is, what is the story that you've been building up until this point that's been keeping you stuck in that level of life with this area? We're going to rewrite the past, transmute it in the present, and then we're going to talk about how to open up for a new future timeline in this area of life. It's going to be really powerful. They're absolutely incredible, so you can go and check those out. And if the show resonated with you today, please share the show. It helps us to grow our channel and our impact. And for those of you who have been watching, you know we're going to start putting much more intention into the YouTube channel. So expect more better new videos coming. Very, very excited about it. And that's a wrap. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here on a Wednesday. And I will see you guys here tomorrow for another episode of The Morning Show. If you want to send a question into the show, That link will also be in the show notes. It is marlyansel.com/the morning show. You can submit a question to be answered on the show. You can leave it totally anonymous if you would like. Even if you do put your name, I will not read your name on air. So it's anonymous no matter what. And we do Q&A on Friday. All right. I love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye, my loves.